Up next on Inside ChampCar, the Everyman. Welcome to Inside ChampCar. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. I guess I was supposed to say the Everything Man. I didn't read it completely properly because, of course, it's like 60 feet away from me. And I'm an old man.
And the reason I said the everyman was because I asked him, I said, what do you do? And he sent me this text with like this list of stuff that's like, it's like, holy crap,
He does everything.
And for anybody that knows me, that's going to be especially funny because they tend to say I talk too much or use too many words and too big of words.
That's all right. That's all right. That's what we like. We have a lot of smart people listening to our show now, and they like to hear big words. Yeah. Yes.
So I send Bill this big text, and then next thing you know, the Everything Man, and I'm like trying to think of another way to say it, and every other way that I would have said it took 3 times as many words, and I'm like, okay,
there you go.
There it is.
You got to keep it, short and quick, and just like my wife likes it.
Oh boy, we've already gotten there. All right,
keep telling yourself that.
Chris Rallo is here. He is with Rockwell. What is it? Rockwell
Auto Sport Development.
See, I've screwed that up too.
I even sent you a text. I said, "This is how you say it."
So it's a mouthful, but rad for short. Yes, they went there, but it's catchy. It works.
Nice.
And my last name is also Rallo. Maybe I'm a little jealous they beat me to it, but
okay.
I just went with Rallo Racing because I like the alliteration, the double R.
Very nice.
So
very nice. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. Happy to be here.
So you let on earlier that you've watched a couple of times, so you know about what I'm about to do. I'm going to ask you, how did
every good racer is prepared, right? Does their homework.
That's right. I'm going to ask you, how did you get started in this crazy sport that we love?
It's my dad's fault.
Yep.
It always is.
There's a lot of people. That's probably the most common answer we get to that question.
Wait, and to simmer it down to the level that Bill was able to simmer down what I do in racing. Yes. But he was a drag racer, rode motorcycles, built so in the 70s he built a 1943 Willys Jeep from the ground up, put a fiberglass body on it when that was like a brand new thing, built the engine himself, Flash forward 20 years, there's me going on 10. The Jeep's gone, most of the toys are gone. But racing's on the TV. I grew up every weekend, IndyCar, NASCAR, F1. I was watching every race when Nigel Mansell did his back-to-back in '92 to win, the F1 championship.
F1 and then IndyCar.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Which also ’93 happened to be Paul Tracy's rookie season, who became my favorite driver.
Oh, we're not going to get along. Because by me saying that, you might know who my favorite driver was at that time.
Oh boy.
Were you a Mansell fan?
No, I was an Al Unser Jr. fan.
Oh, wait.
I was wondering which direction you were going with that.
Let me raise one to that one.
Paul Tracy's arch nemesis. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I thought maybe you're going the Andretti direction, but
no,
that was me.
No,
that was me. I was a big Andretti fan, but that goes back to the 60s.
Speaking of '93, I believe that was Mario's last win, Phoenix, if I recall.
That could
probably
be.
I was overseas, so I don't remember. Because I was in Formula One stuff.
Fair enough. And then I was a big Earnhardt fan. I was, 8 years old. My dad built me this wood clock, a race car clock. I wanted the number 3 on it.
Of course.
I was 12 years old.
Oh man, I'm old.
Well, I in '92 I was 8, but I'm flash forwarding a little bit. I'm keeping some progress going. I, for whatever reason, I guess as the first child, to sit on the right side of the back seat is easier for the parent driving to see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And then my brother came along, and he sat on the left side. So to give you guys an idea how like driving centric, how much I was looking forward to driving, how much I wanted to then be a race car driver, I was about 12, and I traded which side of the back seat that I sat in with my brother to get used to the seat belt going the other direction.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, and you ask anybody that I know, I'm drawing race car pictures, I'm talking race cars, I was, you go over the rule book and you look at the VPI sheet and the list, and we have our napkin race cars and our spreadsheet race cars. Well, that started in my notebook, or date myself again, my Trapper Keeper in high school and such. Flash forward a little bit. My parents are blue collar, very much of the mindset, go to school, get a real job, etc. There was no karting other than, playing around at the kiddie track.
Right.
So it's time to go to technical school, and I went to a very local school. It's actually at Willow Run. Most notable maybe for being where they built the B-24. At one point, they were cranking out one an hour.
Wow.
From that place. Amazing. So I went to school to be aircraft mechanic because A, it was local, and B, it was the highest level technical education I could get my hands on, and I knew that I could use it to get into racing. It wasn't the UTI blah blah NASCAR raw, but it would at least my theory was it would open just as many doors. And one day the job board, this little very familiar logo to me that was red and black, Skip Barber, stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, okay.
And to flash forward a little bit, I wasn't able to go the first year because the Pro Series went away, and they didn't hire the way they thought they were going to hire. And then the next year, after spending a year in automotive testing, I went off to Skip Barber. So I got my mechanical racing education, but I went to a racing school so that I would be in that learning environment. And I worked in pit lane as much as I could, so I would hear all the questions or the explanations. I would see the do's and the don'ts so that I could start soaking up the driving knowledge as a sponge. And I knew that eventually driving would be a part of my job. I'd go through the 3-day. I'd be bedding in brakes, breaking in motors, scrubbing in tires, et cetera, et cetera. Got to race the series a little bit. And then I was in racing, and I never stopped.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. Where was the technical college? Which one was it again?
So it was, at the time, it was named the Michigan Institute of Aeronautics. It's at Willow Run, which is Detroit area of Michigan. It's since been renamed the Michigan Institute of Aviation and Technology because of people like me that take the education and go elsewhere.
Sure.
To give you a fun example, that they gave us, something like 50% of the people that work at like a big Six Flags, or for Michigan, it's Cedar Point,
right,
that work on those rides are actually AMP or certified mechanics.
Sure.
They're airplane trained mechanics.
Wow.
But because of the pneumatics, the hydraulics, and the mindset, and this is one of those other things where that technical education carried over so well into racing. As the saying goes, at 30,000 feet, there's no shoulder of the road, there's no parking lot to pull into when the airplane breaks down. It has to make the flight. People's lives literally depend on it. You go to a race car, some race cars go faster than some planes.
Yeah.
And it has to keep the driver safe, and it has to continue running to finish the race. So we fix things before they break.
Well, and some race cars are upside down planes. I mean, you
Absolutely.
know, you look at an Indy car or Formula One car, the wings are doing the opposite of what a plane's wing would do. It's pushing them towards the ground as opposed to lifting them off the ground. So that probably was all good stuff. I was at a program when I was in college. I was not in the program. My college had a program in composite engineering. It was one of the first composite engineering schools in the country. and all of their graduates were going off to places like NASA and Boeing and IndyCar and Formula One. And of course, I got out of the first program I went into, which was oceanography, because there was math involved. And I'm like, I can't do math.
Oh boy!
So obviously, composite engineering was not going to be in my future. But it was kind of cool to have all these people running around doing stuff that could be motorsports related. Because at that point in my life, I was already doing motorsports with my dad as well. So very, very cool. When did you get into the ChampCar stuff? How did you get over that area of this world?
So, you want the long version or the
short?
Sure,
we got all night. Bill wants me to go all the way to 7 o'clock.
46 minutes.
Exactly.
All right. I have a fun story about me talking too much that I can use to fill some time later if we need to. Speaking of, so just remind me about like push to talk, talking on the radio.
Oh, you're one of those people.
So I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. So I did my 2 years at Skip Barber. They were at the racing school. It's kind of a magic number. You spend 2 years there. That's how long it takes to learn everything, climb the ranks of the mechanics, and then at that point, they didn't pay enough to keep you there. So you move on and go elsewhere in the racing world. Some guys that didn't have to transfer, that lived local, maybe still lived at folks, didn't have the same overhead, to use that term,
right?
We're able to keep doing it, or would be motivated to stay there for longer. But I did my 2 years. I moved on. I was really lucky. I had met Ian Prout.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Thanks to Brian Riley. Shout out to Brian Riley. If you trace back everything I do into racing, it literally goes back to a day where he flagged me down at Skip Barber because I was driving one of their RX-8s at Lime Rock that they used on the skid pad. He was racing one at that point in time, it was T2, SCCA, and wanted to know like what tricks we did to get it to handle on the racetrack. Unfortunately, I didn't have any good answers for him because we didn't put them on the racetrack. They were our skid pad vehicle.
Okay.
But it started a great conversation. It was an SCDA track day. Bill Prout had created SCDA in I believe in the 80s, former Skip Barber chief instructor.
Right.
His son Ian was now running it, and I got to meet Ian. And so when I left Skip Barber, Ian introduced me, referred me to some people, and got me a really awesome gig right away as a pro driver, working with AMCI, doing ride and drives, promoting. The first program I did was a Tundra, but promoting cars for automakers.
Sure.
They call it a ride and drive because some of it your left seat, some of it your right seat, and because of my technical experience, I was a SME, a subject material expert. And unfortunately, that was 2007, 2008, and marketing dollars dried up when the stock market and the housing market dried up. So we went from having 400 drivers on the road full time to having 40. So
and you weren't one of those 40.
Yeah, first in, first out.
Yeah.
And I ended up pitting around a little bit. I got a job at a motorcycle dealership, learned more about motorcycles than I thought there was to learn. But in the meantime, I was instructing for SCDA. I was going to 20, 25 SCDA events a year and not even bringing a car suitable to take on the track because of getting an opportunity to be on the tracks, learn the tracks, network with the people, build my skills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the more I did that, the more people that I met, the more other doors that it opened. And eventually in 2011, technically in 2010, I walked away from my job at the motorcycle dealership and kind of went back to the track full time, but piecing together different gigs. Sure. And I did, 2, 3, whatever I was able to afford SCCA races a year to kind of keep the juices flowing as it were. And, one thing led into another there. And, flash forward 5, 8 years from there, and I stumbled into an opportunity to do a lot of East Coast bracket racing.
Okay.
Bracket endurance racing.
Right.
Yeah. With the American Endurance Racing, started the first year for me was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Did one race in my own car and said, well, this is going to be hard. And there was a lot of different life changes going on for me at that point in time. And I started putting myself out to some other people and was able to hook up with some other guys, a couple different members at Monticello. I'd been doing a lot of instructing there. So I worked with Alex Rubenstein and his crew, who now have also ventured out and found ChampCar as well. They've been running MX5 a little bit and done reasonably well. And did, a year with them went well. I really helped solidify their efforts and get it consistent, work with some of their drivers, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next year, hooked up with another fledgling team and kind of on accident got third place in the whole series championship.
Nice.
And then we said, well, if we did this almost on accident, we can win this. And so over the 17-18 winter, we, made some changes on the car. And then at Road Atlanta, we read the writing on the wall, said we were going to need some more changes. We actually S54 swapped the C36 that we were racing. You actually can see it right there with about 20 trophies on it.
Nice.
Not that you can see the trophies, but he did, the car owner did, staged up a pick.
Right.
That came out pretty neat. And we won 8 out of the first 10 races that year in our class and finished second in the other and crashed out of a 3-lap lead in the other. Yeah.
Those suck. I've been there.
Oh, and that series, your points follow the car, and if you can't fix the car, you have no points. So we were halfway through this championship season, and we were past the point of no return, and our car is not just in a tire wall; it is on a tire wall. The trunk's flipped open. I assume the whole back of the car is caved in, and so the whole season's life flashed right before my eyes. However, the trunk button on the E36. Anybody who's intimately familiar with them knows. So the trunk button sticks out about that far. The tire wall pushed the trunk button. The only thing actually hurt. The only thing actually hurt was the exhaust, which we were able to get welded. There was the guy just happened to be there. He drove his welding truck to the track.
Right.
Fixed the exhaust for us, and we had the car reprepped and fixed before the race was over, and we won it the next day.
Well, that's
so that got me into the club endurance racing, the 200 treadwear tire racing that is AAR, ChampCar, WRL, Lucky Dog, etc. And ChampCar was on my radar, but I hadn't had an opportunity until somebody who I met at AAR, Scott Barton, invited me out to help.
Hey, I know Scott. I've known Scott for decades.
Really?
Yes, I've known him since. Yeah, him and I. Oh, whew. Yeah, we've done a lot of crazy shit. Yeah, back in the day. Yeah. Scott's an old MR2 guy.
I had forgotten
every
that.
Show, Bill.
He finds a way to
every show he sneaks in an MR2 thing.
So this club I had 100,000 members worldwide.
Wow.
There's a few people out there that have done this. We were at Mid-Ohio, and a guy goes,
Bill?
Are you the guy that used to run the MR2OC? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but 990,000 of them had names that sounded a lot like Bill Strong.
No, I wouldn't. No. No, it was it's crazy.
Did you write a script, Bill, to have emails attach themselves to
Dear India, please send more members. Now the Scott's
never mind.
Scott ran a not an E30. That was a 2002 that they ran 2002 Ti they ran in Lemons. And I remember us at Summit Point, and I want to it was a ChampCar. It was the first time ChampCar ran at Summit Point. ChampCar. And Scott's there, got a whole bunch of guys with him. And they're putting a junkyard motor into that into that BMW. It looks like a junkyard motor. It's dirty. It's, dirty. But I swear to God that, and I forget the guy's name, the blonde Stig, they called him, or the redheaded Stig. He comes down the front straightaway there, and I swear that car was at 15,000 RPM. It's like, what the hell? And, here's all of us like, our little 2.2 MR2s. And yeah,
I never understood how that 2000.
Mike Skeen, there you go.
Oh,
Thanks,
yeah.
Daniel.
Oh, I know Mike.
Okay.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, the
Right,
Red Wreck
right.
was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
318. Yeah, the Red Wreck was a 318, but they also ran a 2002 Ti. They took to New Jersey, and they almost didn't get to run that. I think it was New Jersey. It was somewhere because we had to actually kind of weld some things into it because they didn't like the way the trunk had rusted out. And there was no floor in it, basically.
I could never understand how those 2002 BMWs were fast because they're the ugliest, most unaerodynamic things I've ever seen. But, man, those things could handle like nothing at all. It was crazy.
Well, and that's exactly it. They were good on the small courses
Oh my
where
God.
the aero didn't
Yeah.
play as big of a part, I
Yeah.
think.
It's crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was Magnan. I don't know if Magnelli ran that race, but I know Skeen was there. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Magnolia, that's bringing it
that's
back
another
also.
MR2 guy, but we don't go there.
Why? Because he went
he has-
Fiero?
No, well they.
Oh,
yeah, 'cause he has
now we're
Fieros,
talking
but
my
they
thing.
race- Well, he's a big Fiero guy. He's got some really nice GT he just bought recently. But they started at the Cincinnati, or he was part of the Cincinnati Toyota Corolla team.
Yeah.
That ran in lemons and everything. So, but yeah,
Once upon a time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a long time ago.
if
But
I
now
had-
he's working for somebody else, like Ford or something.
If I had a
He's an engineer.
big enough garage out here
Ford, yeah.
in SoCal, I see Fieros like, once every 3 or 4 months, and they're just in decent shape. And I'm like, I would love to have another Fiero again.
I do.
Yeah,
like
I wish the
Fieros. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I do like the Fieros. I sold them when they were new back in once I got out of the
Okay.
Air Force. I sold cars for a bit,
Okay.
and the Fiero was just a fun car.
It was
I mean,
great.
it was heavy. It was heavy. It wasn't like the Mark I MR2 that it was always compared to.
I
It
drove
was just a fun, nice
a
drivable
Fiero in
car.
college, and it was a chick magnet, and
Yeah.
they didn't know it was heavy and dog slow.
Yeah,
Didn't know it
just
wasn't
saw
a
sports
Ferrari.
car.
Exactly. I said, it's like a
There was-
Ferrari.
There was one on Central Avenue that would cruise from the proving grounds, the GM proving grounds.
Yeah.
It supposedly had a turbo V6 in it, the GNX or something like that engine,
Oh.
and just a test. Yeah,
Oh.
they would cruise,
Yeah.
just toast everybody. Dodge would do the same thing, but with their turbo cars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
back in the day.
JLHS and such.
Yep, I had a GLHS. Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
The Charger, not the Omni.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so Scott Barton, and you met up with those guys.
Yeah, so he invited me to help him work with him with a team that he was getting going with race capture, the Autosport Labs
Right.
telemetry back when it was relatively new and most people didn't have it. So a lot of people hadn't heard of it. I'd been running it. Those that don't know Alex Rubenstein, he's big into technology, loves his data. We were running it in 2015. I can remember literally live coaching with data during a race. And
And just to let you know, Autosports Lab, MR2 guy. Serious.
oh boy,
He started out his whole company making a distributorless ignition for the 4AG and the Toyota MR2. I've known him for a long time.
Apparently,
Again,
I'm the
dude.
only person who's never owned an MR2. Just putting it out there.
Just saying.
nor have I, nor
Okay,
nor
so there's two of
Fiero.
us.
Yep. Bill, you're outnumbered. I'm sorry. Maybe he's compensating.
Never
He
owned a
keeps bringing up
Fiero.
all these other people.
Yeah.
That's
Before
okay.
before
Keep going,
we're,
I probably
this,
know some.
I said before this show is over, he's going to mention something about an Opel too. Just putting it out there.
That was
Why
last
does he
week.
have to? And he has you to do it for him.
Exactly.
Yes, that was last week.
Getting it out of the way.
So come to find out, the team that he was working with that invited me to work with and get to drive a little bit was actually Tuttle with two of their Eclipses. back when they were bringing, it was Tuttle Motorsports, Brian Tuttle and his
Yeah.
his sons and crew.
Team Crankwalk.
So they once upon a time. So I they would a lot of times bring a local in, and so that they were new to Watkins Glen, and so they brought us in, and we actually
Hey. I'm going to kick everybody's ass when I go there and da, this and that. And yeah, I just remember coming around a corner and there's this car like stuck in the wall. And still the best inside ChampCar ever. It was the first time we ever did inside ChampCar, and he brought in a six-pack of beer.
ChampCar Live.
No, ChampCar. No, inside ChampCar.
Oh, was there an inside ChampCar before this?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the one edition.
The one edition?
We did it live from Watkins Glen.
Oh, okay.
And we had a panel, and he was going to be on the panel, but he shows up late, and walks in with like a 6-pack of beer, sets it down on the table, sits down, starts popping them. And every time he'd pop a beer, more stuff would come out about his cars.
That's
and everybody's just sitting there taking notes. It was so funny.
Oh.
It's on this channel. So if you just search for it, it's on there.
We need more liquor on this show.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, well, we have the fake stuff right here. So
Yeah. I'm going to have to
Is this water or is it not?
Or is it not?
Or is it not?
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
but yeah, it's but yeah, there's that and there's Scott Barton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So needless to say, my experience with that crew was very colorful.
Yeah.
Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm halfway convinced that half the hot air is a tactic and it works.
Yeah.
But
Scott Barton and I have gotten in races on track, off track. One of the funnest times I've had was CMP, the second CMP I did, Carolina Motorsports Park, with Lemons. Scott's driving the Enterprise. I'm in our MR2 behind him. And remember, Lemons, you have like 40 cars side by side going around this track. And all I see is his eyeballs in the mirror because he'd look up, where's Bill? Just looking to see where he was. And he just got behind the Enterprise.
Yeah.
And he would clear a way for us. It was awesome.
That's right.
So much fun.
Good stuff.
All right, go back to the story.
So as you alluded to, there was a car in the wall at least one of the days. However, Sunday was his first ever win in ChampCar. Yeah. And it was pretty neat to be able to be, to be a part of that. And so I came back from a couple other events with him. Sometimes I got to drive, a lot of times I didn't. Indy in 19 showed up not expecting to drive, but both the kids, as it were out of the country. He had 3 pros to share the driving duties of the 2 cars with him. One of which, after crashing the car on Saturday, decided to go home and not race on Sunday. So at 9:00 at dinner Saturday night, Brian turns to me and says, "Well, I hope you brought your helmet because you're driving tomorrow." And just like that, I got to race at Indy. Unfortunately, some of the car damage from the day before caused issues, and the team had burned through the parts that they'd brought on that car. We had some fuel delivery issues on the other car, which I got to play test driver on for a while. But, that helped open the door into building a relationship with some other teams. Meanwhile, back in the AER days, as it were, for me, I had met Alex and Eric Rockwell.
Another MR2. No, another.
It starts with an M, but no.
I'm gonna need a dump button, not for profanity. I want to be able to bleep every time Bill says MR2.
Yeah. It's a great car to drive. Have you driven an MR2, Chris?
I have not, sadly.
Yeah, you need to go drive Cone Crushers. That's
okay. I was gonna say, can you? I mean,
You don't want to drive mine.
People ask me what I drive, and my answer is whatever I can get my hands on. So if you can help with that, Bill.
There you go.
And I do have recent mid-engine experience, so
yeah.
Mid-rear.
That's a good team to play with. So.
Yeah. So you do a lot besides driving, right? You wrench, you help run the teams, a whole bunch of stuff, right?
I do, and so this is alluding to the everything man part. I made a crack elsewhere about all of my hats. I ran out of spots to put them all. I do. So obviously, blue collar passed, got my hands dirty, getting into the sport, and I still do the work, partially because I enjoy it, partially because I want to be the guy turning a wrench on the car that I'm running, and also, take a lot of pride in crafting a good race car that presents well, feels well, gets good driver feedback, and makes it. So, and along the way, I've done everything for somebody. I've crewed with a lot of different teams, done a lot of it, myself and with these different teams. So, for the Rockwells, I drive their IMSA rig. It's 80 feet and 70,000 pounds of toter home, and with my co-driver / navigator, the little 5'1" Spitfire girlfriend Brittany. Those that know her, you ever see a 5'1" girl driving 74,000 pounds down the road?
So they have to jack that seat way up, don't they?
Right. Yeah. No, needless to say, there's a lot of adjusting for that driver change that's required.
Well, doesn't the toter home have the bouncy seat?
Oh, it does.
So when you sit in it, it goes down like 4 inches. When she sits in it, it goes down like a half an inch.
Oh, right. And she has to let all the air out, and then I sit in it, and it bottoms out. And,
oh, that's beautiful.
So it's literally soup to nuts. I do a lot of work on the car at the shop, the 10 car. Eric kind of gave it to me for this year, and I was the guy turning a wrench on that car, handled a lot of the transport, took it to a test day that he didn't even attend.
Do Porsches take regular wrenches, or are they golden?
No, they take regular wrenches. They just have MM on them.
I had to get out my 16 millimeter wrench.
That's true.
Who owns a 16 millimeter wrench? Nobody.
Porsche mechanics do.
I had to dig them out of the bottom drawer, Bill.
Yeah. It's like my BMW's like that too. It's just like, what the hell? It's like, these are weird number 18s. What? Come on.
Yeah.
The Germans, I guess.
And you have to have triple squares too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah. There is that. There is that. So let me ask you a question, because this is something I love to talk to people, because, there are people who clearly like to wrench, and there are people who clearly like to drive. And for those of us who really enjoy both, what do you enjoy more?
Driving.
Do you? Okay.
Absolutely no hesitation, no whatever. That's the, you enjoy the rest of the process, but to reach that kind of Zen state, that flow state of fun. I mean, that's really what fun is, and that's what we all are chasing in our lives one way or another, whether we know it or not. It's driving, it's being in the car. It is. I'm on Facebook. My part of my catch line is jack of all trades racing. Some people like to follow that saying with, master of none. At the end of the day, and especially I'm frustrated with a mechanical project, I'll sit here and I'll think to myself, or I'll say out loud, the only thing I'm truly good at is driving. And it's not obviously not 100% true, because
yeah, but in your head.
Right. Yes. And at the end of the day, that's what I feel like I was meant to do. That's where I feel the most, and where I've, I kept the 10 car together all year. It's the only car I know of that finished in the top 10 of every race it attempted to run this year. And by the way, it was like the 5 biggest. It's probably not, and I'm not, cocky enough to think that it is. But some of the drives that I've put on, in the driver's seat, what I've been through conditions wise, speed wise, health wise at the time, putting a car on pole by 9.1 seconds in the rain once upon a time.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's one lap, and it was at Lime Rock, for freak's sake.
Yeah, that's not a long lap.
Right?
No, so because like for me, I love it's really close for me, but I like to cook. People would look at me and say, "Of course you like to cook," but
Because you like the part that comes after.
I love when someone sits down and eats something I've made and just loves it. And when I work on a car, when I've worked hard on a car, and someone who knows how to drive gets out of the car and says, "That was awesome," or "That was fun," and that's the feedback. It's the same kind of feeling.
Yes. As you were saying, telling the cooking thing, I was thinking the same thing, because I got to hear that all year when guys would get in the 10 car and drive it and come out with smiles, and oh my god, it handles so great and
so fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's and I almost enjoy that more than driving. Yeah.
So the only thing that gets close probably, and there's a little bit of a flow state to it when you're in the moment, would be the strategy side, the race management side of it. I'll be on a radio sometimes with 2 cars, maybe 3, but not 3 channels. And so there's a lot of conversating going on. You're looking at data on the different screens. You're paying attention to where the leader's at. Fewer and fewer tracks are doing this, but because they're going digital, but such that you can have a scanner for the flag net. And so I'll have all this going and be managing a race and calling the shots. And, growing up watching the IndyCar, the F1, these are long races with strategy, with pit stops. And so that's one of the biggest things that drew me to the endurance racing versus just the sprint racing that I'd been doing to learn the sport.
Right.
It became so much more real. It became so much more like what I watched growing up and what I wanted to become and be a part of. And so, that's probably the other thing that I'll admit that I'm good at. And in fact, one of the best compliments, highest compliments that was paid to me from somebody who's very similar, works on the cars, can drive, calls the shots for the team, et cetera, et cetera. We ran into him at our first WRL race. This was the AAR team that we did really well with. It was ironically just for fun racing. And then we went out and podiumed in the championship 2 years in a row.
So what's this about you doing strategy on 3 cars out of 24 solo?
Doug
Oakley says that.
I mean, solo. There's some input, but yeah,
it might have been when only he was awake.
That's a part of it. And honestly, the year that we had the red flag, I fell asleep on the box waiting for it to go back green again, and woke up cold and alone
because everybody else went back to the hotel.
Yes.
That's the
cold and alone. I like
that's
that.
Going to be
that
the subtitle on my biography. Brian Bielanski woke up cold and alone.
Oh boy.
Oh God, that's
hilarious. So Cale Fortenberry, he tells me, that he tells other people, he says, I'm writing a book and about racing strategy, and so immediately he has my attention. Did not see where he was going with this at all. And he says, well, maybe book is as strong. It's actually very short. He and I had competed against each other, same class, same years.
Like a quick start guide.
Well, it turns out it was even shorter than that, but yes, a very quick start guide. A quick start. So he had competed against us in AER for 2 or 3 years. And so he said, it actually just boils down to one golden rule: do whatever Rallo does.
Just pit me next to Rallo. Pit me next to Rallo.
Right. And that was like, people that know me know I don't pat myself on the back a lot. So that, that was.
So you need to get like T-shirts or hats made. WWRD. What would Rallo do?
With like a headset and
yeah. We just lost like 10 people. They're all got online to.
Oh yeah, we went from 25 watching down to 9.
Yeah.
Everybody starts looking down the pit lane.
Yeah.
Is his crew getting ready?
Oh, yeah.
Is he busy on the?
So with you being on pit lane, you get to see a lot of other teams. You competed against a lot of teams in multiple series. What is the number one thing you see teams doing wrong, especially new teams?
Oh, not having a plan. That's a super broad question, but just and it ends up being a broad answer, but just it boils down to not knowing what they don't know.
Right.
And you can segment that down into thinking they know more that they do, not wanting to pay somebody to be involved, not knowing who to ask to help them, or some combination thereof. But not having a plan. And then I think this is the biggest issue for everybody. And maybe I'll say this is my real answer is you absolutely have to learn from your mistakes and learn from what you did right. And so a big part of what we did with our team in 2017, 2018, the Just for Fun racing team, everybody gave input before and after of an event about what went right, what went wrong, what did you need, what tool could have done better, whether it's parts, procedures, ideas. David Martin, who runs with the Pinkies, with the Huggins team, had joined us that year. He literally orchestrated like the over-the-wall pit stop using like a Hot Wheels type car, and then maybe like some Lego men and some other stuff. Yeah. And so we put an emphasis on, even when we were winning races, you have to keep improving, because if you don't keep improving, somebody's going to catch up to you. So, and I guess it kind of goes with having a plan. But that's part of it. You have to pay attention, you have to take notes, and you have to go over it afterwards.
I'm always shocked at the teams who will come to an endurance race who've never even been to an endurance race, and they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Before I did my first endurance race, I went to Daytona and just stood behind pit lane for literally 19 or 20 hours and just studied what these guys and gals were doing. And I didn't learn it all, but I learned enough to know, wow, this is a big endeavor, and and just to see the different ways different people did different things. But just to show up with 3 or 4 guys and maybe 1 or 2 extras to help in the pits and never been to one is just kind of a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, we just jumped into it, but we thought we knew stuff. Guess what?
Well, everyone thinks we know stuff. We're all experts.
We knew nothing.
And when we did it, Bill, there was no internet to teach us how to do it.
Well, yeah, there was.
Because we're old.
Well, I didn't start until much later. But I'd gone on with what I'd learned in the 80s. But no.
Yeah. My first endurance race was in 1997 or 8. The longest, the 24 hours at Moroso.
I went to Le Mans in 91. So that was my first real endurance race.
So that was before YouTube, before all message boards. So there was no place to learn this other than going to a race and watching, but yeah, I would recommend people go to a race, either be part of a team for a race or just go and watch.
It's hard, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with just doing it. I mean, you can learn, but keep an open mind and just learn from it. But I suggest don't have your first race as a 24.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Our second race was the 24, but that's Nelson Ledges. And that taught us an absolute ton. Right. Again, we thought we were going to go. That we had all this experience of a 88 or whatever it was at CMP, and we go to Nelson Ledges, and it's just like, oh, the lights are out.
Well,
oh my God, we can't see.
and back when I did it, there weren't ChampCar or Lemons or any of these other places. We only had 5 or 6 endurance races in the entire country to go to. So I didn't have that opportunity. So anyway, so much fun.
Do you like endurance race? Because you also work with IMSA. You know, the TCR stuff. Is that more entertaining from your point of view than the long races like we have, or is you know, the TCR stuff is money. You know, you have a lot of money involved. So if you screw up, it's not good. But in ChampCar, it's not. I mean, it's not so much money.
No, it's a good question. It's there's, I mean, obviously there's the differences in the race format. There's the differences in the money involved. There's a difference in the talent from, you know, bow to stern of the team. And so there's a bigger emphasis on, you know, performing at a top level, not making any mistakes. You know, the ChampCar pit stops are, you know, you're going to be in pit lane for 5 minutes. You have time to take your time. You have time to fix a mistake. Fun, you know, drop things. So Brent will appreciate this, and so Scott was following the data on one of the Tuttle cars at the Glen, and realized even though the driver hadn't said anything yet, it wasn't charging. The alternator was no longer functioning.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
But we knew it before the pit stop. The team had a chance to get some parts together, get some tools together.
Yeah.
And we changed. Well, changed would be a bit of a misnomer. We installed a new.
Lead, wasn't he? He was in the lead, or second?
I think it's the day we won. So we actually ended up 1-2. If we weren't there, it was just a pit stop cycle thing. And then, you know, Salins had an EC car that was playing around out front also. Right. In fact, that might have been the race when ChampCar decided that EC weren't going to count for pace car purposes anymore, because they played some, speaking of strategy, they played some strategy, we'll say. But the point is, we were able to literally, I was going to say change, but install a new alternator belt on a pit stop. In the IMSA series, you know, you have 15 to, if it's a splash, but probably more like, you know, 30 seconds to max fueling time is about 50 seconds. And so, you know, you're changing 2 or 4 tires, you're dumping all the fuel in the car, and everything, changing the driver, and everything has to go right. Everything gets practiced to go right. So it's, you know, starts to take away a little bit of the fun factor on the outside. However, if you enjoy performing under pressure, you enjoy that kind of pressure, you can get a huge rush out of doing a pit stop like that you are not going to get at a ChampCar race. In a 2-hour sprint, because that's what these really are. In a 2-hour sprint race, the driver is going to get a rush. Even though he's only in the car for an hour, he's going to come out with his ass kicked way more than if he did a 2-hour ChampCar stint. But it's a shorter format. There's less strategy. I honestly like the longer format racing better, because there's more strategy that goes into it. You know, car spends more time on the track, cycle more drivers through the car, et cetera.
Right.
You know, Bill, you asked a question about dollars. You know, more dollars involved in IMSA. And yes, I think in IMSA, well, definitely, I know in IMSA, there's more zeros, but
lots more.
But in the stuff that we do, there's less zeros. But for some teams, it's still this like the same amount of their life dollars that they're putting into it.
Oh yeah,
they're putting in what they've got,
if not more, and it's their own money, not some title sponsor or their teams or.
So I sometimes feel like for some teams that the money is not any different in their thought process. It means just as much to them if they were racing for a purse of $50,000 or whatever IMSA is in the TCR series, or racing for a purse of $0 in those awesome trophies that you guys give out. I don't think money in many cases has a whole lot to do with it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's yeah. Well, like I tell a lot of folks, you've been to the Rolex, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and Chris, you've been to the Rolex.
Yeah, a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. So, guys like me never participated in something like that. Our Rolex is like Daytona 14.
Oh,
is the Indy double. I mean, this is our
the VIR 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The watch.
Yeah. So
yeah, that was
cool.
funny. I said, hey, jokingly, I said, Chiswick, hey, we should get watches for the winners. And he goes, get a Timex.
Yeah.
Of course, Timex at the time was sponsoring some series. I couldn't use those. So yeah, and I even sent out some emails to some of them, and that company's never replied back to me. I said, hey, we want to give these away. I don't really want free ones.
Yeah.
I'll buy them from you, but I want them engraved because none of the
right.
It sucks because none of the places around here will engrave watches like that. But we bought our own engraver.
Yeah.
Haha.
Very cool.
Some engraving like that might have helped. You guys ever hear the story about Jim Norman's Rolex?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not real. It has to be real because it's the president of Rolex gave it to me. The guy just did not believe him.
Yeah.
I got it in Daytona on a Sunday. Well, I know all the stores and they're not open. Jim did such a great job telling that story.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jim and I have history. He shoved me on. Sorry. We touched at Sebring. And he goes, it wasn't me. It's like, dude, this is your mirror. It's in my car. I went up ready to fight. Yeah. And he's sitting on the picnic table. We're running the club course at Sebring. Yeah. He's sitting on the picnic table, just smiling away. You can't hit a guy smiling at you. So, yeah.
Watch me.
Fun times. Watch you.
Oh, that's funny. So we're coming up on the clock, Bill. Is there anything else you want to extract from Chris before we let him go, other than to invite him back for another episode down the road? Because
we'll have him back on another episode.
Oh,
this is good. He's got. I want to talk to him about his trucking because there's got to be some fun trailering stories.
And not so fun.
Well, yeah.
Those are the fun ones.
Definitely some stories.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. We'll bring him. But we'll have we might have a couple of people on because I think that'd be kind of fun to bring a couple on where they have the truck stories. So
speaking of stories, since I did drop the hint about it, should I tell the
push to talk button story?
Right.
Yes, go.
So it was 2017 or 18. It was
should I mute him?
Go ahead.
I said, should I mute him?
So can't see the scar anymore, but when Monday, Tuesday of the race, I cut like this part of my thumb, like exactly the part of the thumb that would hit the push to talk on that side, and it's healing. It's a little bit swollen. I'm doing my best to, I'm treat it well and whatever, and I voiced my concerns about it being an issue on the push to talk. Well, Friday afternoon practice comes along. There's a black flag all. We go out to pit lane anyways to be at the front so we can get some clear track. And it went for a while, and I'm sitting there, and the longer I sat there, the more time I had to think, and the more I started getting on the radio talking about stuff. And who knows what, but the part that matters, the punchline, finally one of my teammates comes across. Well, I guess your thumb's not bothering you very much.
Oh, that's funny.
That's good.
And I do get a little chatty in the car, but also, for that team, I was driving, but I was also the one calling the shots in the strategy, and especially like I a lot of times call the race and then get in at the end and just do whatever needed to be done, but not every race allowed that based on drivers, weather conditions, et cetera, et cetera. So,
do you know Kevin Toulay?
I know of. He's
so he's an
done some wiring harness for us.
Yeah. So Kevin also MR2 guy. He still might have it. But
Brian, where's that button?
Hold on a second.
But is much if you've ever heard of hopefully you can hear me. If you've ever heard of Randy Popes when he's on the radio.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, actually
Kevin
talking about
just...
cool moments. He and I jived a little bit on old Japanese motorcycles a ways back.
Cool.
That was pretty neat.
But Kevin would basically give us hints on how to drive the course while he was setting fastest lap of the day, which was hilarious. Randy, we shared the radios when I was driving the I won't say Opel GT, but I was driving the Opel GT at Sebring. Randy was in Troy's MR2. Sorry, both of them. And we were all on the same radio channel. And Randy is just giving notes throughout the stint that I'm on. And consistently, go in here. I'm doing this. The car's doing that. I'm turning in. It needs a little less push here. And just giving us all kinds of information. He goes, "Oh, Bill, I'm sorry. I forgot you were on the radio channel with us." No, keep going. I'm doing like 30 miles an hour, so it doesn't matter.
All right, so
thanks for joining us, Chris.
For the folks at home, by the way, starting next week, our drinking game is every time Bill mentions MR2 or Opel, we're going to drink.
There we go.
I'm expecting Timothy and Multicar Crazy and Doug Oakley and all these guys, John Wittenauer, all you guys going to have something to drink. And then we should do a party line at the end and see who can actually figure out how to get on Zoom.
Who's the most sloshed?
Inside ChampCar, the MR2 edition.
Oh, geez.
Really fun, quick thing tying in drinking and punching somebody while they're smiling.
Oh, yeah.
I got rear-ended at VIR in the sim once. Like, blatantly, like, what is this guy doing? And I was having a good race, and I was not happy. And you know what he told me? He said he had spilled his drink. And I couldn't be mad.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. No. He admitted to it, which was the best part. That's beautiful. Chris Rallo, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chris.
We'll get you back on down the road. That's Chris Rallo from Rockwell Sports, whatever it is, Auto Sport Engineering. I screw it up again.
Rockwell Auto Sport Development.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rad. Thanks, Chris. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so there we go. That was a ton of fun. Oh, my gosh, Bill. Wow.
Yeah, we're going to have him back on.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of guys we're going to have back on next year, but
I know.
I want to hear more trucking stories. I think trailering is a good thing to really talk about, the pitfalls of what happens out on the road. Changing a tire in the deep, dark woods of Oklahoma. We don't know if there were woods there, but it was dark. Oh my God. Yeah. Dark.
All right.
With 90-mile-an-hour winds, and it was 40 below. And yeah.
All right, so if you have a good trailering story, send Bill an email, and we'll put together a show.
Yes.
To one of Bill's 74 emails.
Yeah.
And we'll get you all together, and we'll figure out how to do that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Trailering, we'll have a trailering show.
Yeah.
Travel show.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So all right, we got VIR coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Email has been sent out, I believe, by Chelsea for VIR. Of course, we sent out a bit early because of the holiday coming up.
Sure.
And we have absolutely blown away by the number of entries. Who keeps telling us that the entries are down in ChampCar? Let me tell you, you need to revise your data because we're at 57 cars.
Nice.
For VIR. Holy crap.
Wow.
So, yeah. And a couple of weeks later, we go to Sebring, Florida. We're at 85 cars and growing. We gained 4 cars today. So, it's that's insane.
So what's the cap?
We had a couple of cars drop out, so I was expecting the numbers to be lower.
Yeah.
No, they're higher.
Nice.
So, yeah.
What's the cap for VIR and what's the cap for Sebring?
VIR, we can go to 100.
Okay.
So yeah, we're okay there. In
right.
Sebring, I think it's somewhere around 100.
Okay. Ish.
We don't have, we have, we can put 2 people per pit lane, and it's a pretty long pit lane, but yeah, we do have a cutoff there.
All right.
Yeah, so, and everybody's going there.
Nice.
We've got, at Sebring, we've got ZR Nunn and Triple R and Trex and Treasure Coast Miata with a couple of cars and Team Godspeed, Section 8. Sharky's going to be there, Sharky 2. Rotary Rocketeers. I have a lot of history of those guys. Running Bulls is there. Make sure this is the right race. Yeah, Sebring. Bliss is going to be there with their cars. Atlanta Speedworks, a whole bunch of cars. CU Boulder, they're coming back. Their car caught fire last year at AMP. They're coming back.
Cool.
Yeah, Average Joe's will be there. Bliss Racing, I said Burris Racing. They won the Sebring 14. They're coming back to revenge.
Avenge.
But they won, so would that be avenging?
Oh no, they're coming back to defend.
Defend. I knew it was one of those words. Far from Fullerson Racing. I can't pronounce that.
Farfignugan?
Far from losing.
Is it a Volkswagen team?
BMW. Same thing.
That doesn't work.
Yeah. Flat Out Nemesis. They return with a Mazda Miata. They won everything they pretty much entered, don't they? Or they come close to it.
Yeah.
Floridians, they've won Sebring as well. They're coming back with their 944. GMW is going to be there. Some Corvette. Don't know who he is. Good, bad, ugly. He says quietly. JB Bugs, one of my favorite cars in this series. They'll be there with their bug.
Cool.
I heard that Huggins is going to be there. Is he on there? Is he listed? That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Tuttle's going to be there with the Cadillac ATS. So that'll be interesting too. Yeah.
Nice.
So lots of folks coming to that race at Sebring. Sign up. All it takes $250. Payment due by by race weekend, of course.
Yeah.
But
should I press the button
Hmm?
now?
The leave button?
No. My favorite music.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Tech tip time. All right, this is a good one. I like this one.
So we're going to Sebring.
Yep.
You know.
Blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
blah.
I'm probably going to drive something down there. I don't know what. But when I would take my race car down there,
Yeah.
I would lock tight everything.
Right, because that back straight,
Everything.
when you're going down that back straight, it's like,
You could say that in any corner is you're jumping from, yeah.
sorry, everybody.
You're
at
not
home.
just going around it, you're jumping. And you could move 3 or 4 feet that way to the left as you're going around 17.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Sebring
It's like
supposedly
moguls.
has the most elevation change of any track in the country,
Right.
maybe the world, But yeah, you need to safety wire, Loctite, have whatever your brand. When I first started racing, you know what I used for Loctite?
I don't know.
Fingernail polish.
Oh, okay.
My dad said just use fingernail polish. That's what we used to do, and to keep things from backing out.
Okay.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, we did that for a long time on the the car that remained unnamed, the 2-seater.
Yeah.
Well, wait, yeah, the mid-engine 2-seater, and when we started in Lemons, and it was cheap.
Yeah.
It was readily available, and yeah. Yeah, and I want to say too that ChampCar is a 180 treadwear series. A lot of folks keep going out there saying 200 treadwear.
Right.
And I don't know how many 180 treadwear tires there are anymore. Probably none. But that's the minimum. So, yeah, that's where we're at there. But, yeah, safety wire, Loctite, make sure everything's down. If you're doing the test day, I think there's a test day. If you're doing the test day, you need to make certain you go over that car again and make sure everything's tight.
Right.
Everything's bolted in and going to stay there because this race will beat the holy heck out of your car.
Yes, it will.
You don't want that.
Yes, it will.
Ray actually said he had a really good tech tip for us today, but could not remember it. Remember, he's getting a little up there in age.
No,
So-
don't pick on Ray.
Yeah, I know. I'm not picking. I'm just,
Just saying.
He's getting up there. So yeah, it's yeah. So so yeah, you need to do stuff like that.
Cool.
We got the board of directors election going on.
Yep.
Insane amount of people voting.
Nice.
Really good. Yeah, it's this is the record. Tiffany and I are gonna be there counting for weeks. So yeah.
So
But,
we can't expect the returns to come in on election night. Never mind. Sorry.
No, we're gonna have to wait. No, we stop it on the 30th. I think we have a race that weekend too, don't we?
No, the weekend after. Well, yeah, I guess the 30th of November.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a race a couple days later.
Like that.
A couple days later.
But it's we have a race that weekend. Whatever. We'll shut it off and then we'll start counting.
Yeah.
It's gonna take a while because we have to basically take out everybody that double voted. I've done a pre-test on it. There's not a lot.
Okay.
But make sure everybody's a valid member.
Yeah.
And that they voted correctly. They didn't vote for multiple people like they're not supposed to, like it says all over it. They can vote for 2, and that's it. And if they did, we take out their first voter is the only one that counts.
Yeah.
So we go through that and we put it up, and then Tiffany and I look at the numbers and compare because she does it herself and I do it myself. We compare, and if there's any differences, we go back and figure out why.
There you go.
So yeah, so it works out pretty well. We've done this for a bunch of years. This is just the most numbers we've had.
Yeah.
So that's going on. I think we have a BCCR coming out that's got a little bit more clarification on some roll cage stuff and some lettering changes, I think. And then we're going to have to put in some things for the tire rack banner. They've not requested, but they've require us next year to have no more stickers within like 6 inches of their banner. So we got to put that together, and we got some changes to make on that.
All right.
And then we have the rule book. We got, I think, December.
Well, you're looking for whatever.
December 5th.
Okay.
We have the cutoff for the early pay for Road Atlanta.
Okay.
So that's really important. If you get in before the 5th, on the 5th, you're going to save $200 off your entry to Road Atlanta. And I think 3 weeks later, the next cutoff happens. So
Great.
January, the next cutoff happens for Paris Hill.
Yeah.
So yeah, just make sure get out there, check out our schedule. We're still waiting for information on Gingerman and Laguna Seca. Laguna's going to take a little bit.
Yeah.
They usually don't come back until later.
Got it.
But
all right.
yeah, so once we get that info, we'll make announcements.
Sure.
Chelsea and I are going to be sitting down and doing a video soon. Just give you a status update of ChampCar, and you guys, maybe a lot of you guys haven't really met Chelsea yet, so we'll do a video with her. And,
cool.
Yep. So lots going on.
Yeah. John Whitnauer asked, "How does the tire smell in the studio?"
Yeah,
I think
we talked about that.
Yeah,
didn't
I think maybe I'm just getting used to it. It's still there because I know when my wife walks in, she says that thing smells like rubber.
Yeah.
But I think my nose is getting used to it, but it still smells a little bit. So
yeah, my basement, we put new tires down there. The AC pulls it up through the basement and into the house, and the wife just.
Yeah, it's like when someone pops popcorn in the microwave above in the floor above me at work or below us. I'm like, really? Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, Bill. A big happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there in ChampCar land, and to you and your family as well. And don't actually eat too much turkey. This is the one time of year where it's okay to indulge. And,
and if you guys have any questions about the show, any questions about ChampCar, just email them, info@champcar.org or media@champcar.org. If you notice, we have a new sponsor for next year, and I don't want to say too much.
Yeah, I see something there. And, we can have more than one sponsor, too.
Yes, we're working on that one.
If you're out there and you got a biz that you think might get a little promo out of this, then it would be great to have you get in touch with Bill, and I suspect that he probably has something that'll work in a lot of different budgets. So,
yes, we do, and we have we're working with a lot of folks. But today was spent with contracts, so it's
nice.
Fun time here at ChampCar.
All right, well, that is going to do it for another episode. I got a button to press here. Which button is it? It's
the one that says SCCA.
No. That's going to do it for another episode of Inside ChampCar. Did you like what you hear? Subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. Also, share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page, especially if it's a good one. New episodes every week. He is Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. You are watching ChampCar live on YouTube and listening to the Racing Wire Podcast Network. Have yourself a great weekend, everybody, and a good holidays.
Happy holidays.
Stay safe
Happy
out
holidays. There.